The ability of Islam Makhachev to be able to succeed in the UFC has been put under the microscope again, and this time it's Gilbert Burns who's pulling the trigger. Don't you worry, we're gonna take you through the whole thing and hopefully we'll end up with some clarity on the situation. So without further ado, let's get cracking, eh? Firstly, who said what and why? Brazilian MMA fighter Gilbert Burns may be one of the few who haven't boarded the Makhachev hype train and are non-believers when it comes to the notion Islam is the next Khabib. Since Khabib retired and vacated the lightweight belt thanks to an early retirement back in 2020, new contenders have been rising left and right to fight for the belt. However, after all was said and done, it came down to two men, Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev, who will duke it out in the middle of the octagon for the title of lightweight champion. Burns, who used to be a lightweight and now fights at welterweight, claimed that Khabib's protege isn't everything he's hyped up to be. Some are claiming he's a better version of Khabib, but then that point can be countered simply by saying he's lost a fight, while Khabib sports a flawless record of 29 wins and 0 losses. Burns also called out the fact that Islam doesn't have a lot of finishes, so he just doesn't see Islam sharing the same level of dominance Khabib had. Pretty big call out to throw, eh? Burns went on to claim that Charles Oliveira has simply had a better career than Islam overall. He lauded Charles' striking ability and said it was a level ahead of Makhachev. He also commends the good momentum Oliveira can maintain during his fights, and said that when it'll come down to it, Oliveira will come out on top. Next up, what has Islam done to earn the title of the next Khabib? Well, regardless of people's opinions of him, Islam has pulled off some amazing wins. So we can say that the man has earned his spot as a top contender alongside Charles Oliveira. The MMA community is used to him using his wrestling and sambo roots to tire out his opponents, following it up with vicious ground and pound that seemed to be unparalleled in his last few fights, allowing him to go on an unbelievably awesome 9-win streak. That's some GOAT stuff right there. To put things into perspective, it's been over 6 years since Islam last lost a fight. Islam has faced off against opponents both on short notice and in a long-term study setting. The most recent example of this was his bout against Bobby Green, after Beneil Dariush had to pull out of their fight due to a leg injury. Many people slated Bobby Green thanks to his superior striking and wrestling ability as compared to Dariush to be able to prove a match for Islam. However, that wasn't the case, and Makhachev was able to come out with a win and extend his already extensive win streak yet again. This should serve to make his upcoming fight for the title against Charles Oliveira one for the ages. Coming up, why do people think Charles Oliveira is going to be the one to topple Islam's win streak? Charles Oliveira is known to be one of the most technically sound fighters in the UFC today, with him being the most lethal submission artist to set foot in the octagon in recent times. Plus, he's currently the lightweight champion, so that automatically makes him the best lightweight fighter in the world right now. There are even some people, such as UFC fighter Durinho, who believe Charles Oliveira is the best lightweight fighter to ever set foot in the octagon in general, including Khabib Nurmagomedov. That's a pretty bold claim, we're not gonna lie. At the age of 32, Charles Oliveira managed to capture his first belt, the UFC lightweight title, and successfully carried out his first major title defense against Dustin Poirier at UFC 269, making him an undisputed powerhouse of a fighter. His next title defense is against Islam Makhachev, which is mostly what's sparking all of these debates. Back when Oliveira started in the UFC, he wasn't that good of a fighter, to be honest. He had a record of 10 wins and 8 losses, but something snapped inside the man, allowing him to propel himself forward to an astonishing 11-fight win streak. He has an even crazier statistic. Out of his 33 wins, 30 of them have been via knockout, putting him at a finishing percentage of 91%. This sparked many people to call him out as the best finisher in the UFC today. Finally, who do we think will win Islam v Oliveira? Honestly, there is no answer to this question at the moment. Both fighters are coming off of huge win streaks, and both fighters have excellent coaches and management. For us, it's going to come down down to a battle of will and determination. Whoever wants it the most is going to end up wearing that belt around their waist and leave that arena with their pockets heavy. Perhaps Islam may be slated to have one huge advantage over Oliveira, and that's the fact he has perhaps the greatest UFC lightweight of all time at his corner, Khabib Nurmagomedov. That's nothing to scoff at. If we haven't mentioned it enough already, Khabib has a flawless record, and he was a very recent fighter, retiring just last year, which means he's fought most of Islam's opponents himself and has cracked their code. Having someone in your corner who already knows what game plan worked on a fighter last time, coupled with a different fighter who can be unpredictable, leads to almost everyone falling unconscious in front of Islam. We can't tell you who's going to come off with the win, but we can tell you that it's going to be one of the most entertaining and highly anticipated fights that have graced the Octagon since McGregor v. Nurmagomedov. Other news: Khamzat misses weight ahead of UFC 279. Something catastrophic happened at the weigh-in just before UFC 279 could take place. Khamzat Chimaev wasn't able to make the weight needed to face off against Nate Diaz by an astounding 7.5 pounds. That's a huge margin to miss, especially for a seasoned veteran like Chimaev. Popular MMA reporter Ariel Helwani managed to get a crucial piece of information from insider sources that claimed Khamzat wasn't able to make the right weight due to a medical issue he seems to be facing, though it is unclear whether this issue is set to affect the star in the long term or short. Khamzat's weight led to him being closer to middleweight than welterweight, leading many to have a crack at him by claiming he may well be gearing up to fight Paulo Costa instead. While there is a funny side to the story, we hope Khamzat makes a recovery from whatever ails him. Next up, Tony Ferguson may end up fighting Nate after all. Okay, we know. Excuse me? Where'd that come from? Well, allow us to explain. Well, Uncle Dana went ahead and pulled off a historic switcheroo on us and announced that El Cucuy would be fighting Nate Diaz as a final send-off from the UFC. Fans couldn't be more surprised and happy. A dream come true for most. This fight was something fans have wanted for a long while, and now that it finally is coming true, they couldn't be more hyped. Dana White did go on record to talk about how fighters, when they initially sign on for a fight, train with a specific fighter in mind, and getting them to sign on to fight against a completely different fighter like this is not only very hard, it's very unlikely that it'll end well. However, these two were ready to go at it and settle things in the Octagon come UFC 280. Finally, Canelo Alvarez versus Kamaru Usman. This is a fight that might happen or may not. It comes down to the money. Canelo Alvarez is known to be the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world, and Kamaru Usman has been a dominant force in the UFC for a long while. A while back, Kamaru mentioned a crossover fight against Canelo, to which Canelo responded with an LOL. A bit embarrassing, don't you think? Dana White is known to hold a special place in his heart for boxing. He was even caught watching the Canelo versus Plant boxing title fight while present at the UFC 268 event. We mean, Canelo has to be a heck of a fighter if he manages to pull the attention of the president of the UFC long enough to make him watch his fight while a native fight is forgotten in the background. Well, taking into account how much money Dana made the last time a crossover event like this happened, we're pretty sure another one might not be reaching too far. Dana can certainly make the fight happen if the right money is moved, and we're sure everyone who loves combat sports in general is gonna get hyped for the fight. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Islam can extend his win streak against Oliveira? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.